We're here to talk today about Metazoa's new Technical Debt Center. This is really an org optimization and cleanup tool that also includes impact analysis to really help you comprehensively address technical debt in Salesforce orgs. A lot of the technical debt solutions that are out there are very piecemeal. You've got field usage over here. You have impact analysis over here, but impact analysis doesn't really do you any good if you don't know where your technical debt is. You've got Salesforce Optimizer, which really works on a limited set of the metadata, really doesn't comprehensively address the problem. So what we've really tried to do is bring together into one solution a number of applications that can really help you comprehensively address the problem end to end, all the way from showing you where the technical debt is, giving you the tools to clean it up, helping you see the impact of the changes that you're making, and even on the tail end, addressing technical debt in some unique ways that you'll see today that maybe you don't traditionally think of as technical debt in your Salesforce org. So with that, let's get started. So today we're talking about our Technical Debt Center, and we're really excited to talk about it. But we've actually launched a couple of other centers as well. We have our Org Document Center, which is a great documentation tool for compliance, administrator reference, those kind of things. And we have a great security center, which really offers powerful profile and permission set management and a lot of security capabilities for your org. As everyone knows, we also have our Monarch data migration tool and then our snapshot tool, which contains all of these capabilities, plus some more like release management. So if you're a snapshot customer, you got all of these capabilities. And if you need more than one, it's definitely worth looking at the snapshot tool to get it all, because it's a really comprehensive and full sort of org management solution. But today we really want to talk about our first center here, which is the Technical Debt Center. So that's what we're going to talk about. So, our Technical Debt Center, as I said kind of in the intro, is really about comprehensively addressing technical debt in a way that we really feel hasn't been done before for the Salesforce ecosystem. So what we've done is put together 7 different applications that really tackle it from all the angles that you need to be able to identify it, to be able to work on it. And, it really covers a lot of the bases. Obviously, we hit the basics, unused fields and pick lists in your org, stale reports and dashboards. But we actually have a custom algorithm that we've developed for each of the 220 metadata types supported by the API. And we analyze each one of those and come back with an analysis of where your technical debt is. So we're attacking this comprehensively in a way that hasn't been done before, whether it's flows, queues, groups, roles, email templates, reports, fields, tabs, custom objects. We have an analysis for it. Really, really comprehensive analysis that you'll see today in the demo. And then to add into that, we have really great impact analysis. We can visually chart for you any piece of metadata that you're going to delete or change, every dependency that flows in or out of it. So you can visually see across the org what the impact of that change is, or maybe how you need to untangle it to get it deleted, right? And then we're actually attacking technical debt from some unique places that don't traditionally kind of get lumped into the term. But, one is inactive user connections. So as a lot of you administrators know, when someone becomes inactive in Salesforce, they could still have metadata that they're connected to. They could be the running user for a dashboard or a workflow. Or they could have data, maybe, open opportunities or cases that are still connected to that inactive user. We can discover any of those connections, whether they're metadata or data, and remap them to another user. We also are attacking technical debt from a license expense management point of view. We can show you, licenses that are being underutilized, or, inactive users that are assigned licenses, or maybe users that are assigned licenses that aren't assigned to the package the license is for. So we can do that and even show you what your cost is related to those things. So really what we've done is bundled together all the tools you need as someone managing a Salesforce org to identify technical debt in a very comprehensive way across all of your metadata, and to have all the tools to make those changes and to really clean it up. So that's what we're talking about today, and that's what we're going to show you. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Sridhar here, and he's going to take us through the actual demo. So Sridhar, let me stop my share here and make you the man in charge.
Man in charge. That's definitely
Dangerous, I know.
awesome.
All right, off to you, sir.
Thank you, Tom. And everybody should be able to see my screen now. Awesome. So let's jump right in. So for those people who are familiar with Metazoa, back in the day, we had snapshot org management only, which helped take care of a whole bunch of different scenarios: release management, technical data analysis, documentation, data migration, whatnot. And over the years, people have come to us asking for ways of focusing on one or two of these use cases only, and not focus on the trying to boil the ocean there. So that's really what we have done here with these centers. And you can see some of the ways we have broken this out. You have the technical debt center, which is the focus of the day, which you could look at your profiles and permission sets through the security center, document your org through the documentation center, focus on Spotlight, which is a completely different beast, to focus on other things that are not being used in the org. And of course, the enterprise edition that contains a whole bunch of these things, snapshots. I'm going to start off with the focus of the day here, which is technical debt center. So when I click on that, I go right into it. Before I start talking about the product itself, very quick blurb about our architecture. As you can see here, we are primarily a client. So think of this like your browser or data loader, something that's running on your machine. We support both Windows as well as Mac. But the idea behind all of this stuff is it's running on your machine and talking directly to your Salesforce org. So quite literally a zero trust environment. You don't have to trust Metazoa with your metadata, data, or security credentials, because we receive none of it. Everything remains in your control at all times. And that makes a very big difference, especially for our healthcare, financial, higher ed kind of customers, or government cloud customers there, where that security is, extremely important, right? So that's part of the reason why we chose this architecture, primarily an on-premise architecture. So when I came into Technical Debt Center, you can see some of the reports that are available here. There are about 7 reports here. I'm going to start off with everybody's favorite, field usage. Whenever we start talking about cleaning up technical debt, people typically mean cleaning up fields there. That's where everybody starts. So I'm going to start with that as well, and then go into some of the other options. Selecting that, next part is to choose what kind of org I want to go into. You could go into any org that you want. If you want to go directly into my production org, as I've done here, or go into a sandbox, maybe you want to try it out, do a trial in a full copy sandbox or something like that, or do that in a scratch org, or if you have turned on SSO, so you want to go through OAuth and authenticate yourself and go forward. However you want to go about it, you're just providing your credentials there, and that credentials is used directly from that client to talk directly to Salesforce, your Salesforce org. And again, zero trust environment. We never receive any of this information, right? So I'm going to log into my org right here, launch the product. And what it's going to do is go directly into the product for me. But some of you who are trialing the software out, you would see that it starts creating a metadata backup, because it's looking through that org to identify what objects you have, what fields you have, what are the pick list values, things like that. And that process might take a little bit of time, given, depending upon the size of the org there. But once that is done, here is what you would see: a list of all objects that are in your org, depending upon what kind of access you have. And you're really deciding how much of the data to look through to figure out what fields are being used or not. We have the ability to look at these fields. And there was actually a question that was posted: what criteria do we use to go figure out what fields are being used or not? In this particular report, we are looking at it from a data perspective. We also have the capability to turn around and look at it from a metadata perspective, right? That will be available in the Forgotten Assets report. I'll talk about that in a second here. But this is focused on the data. So in my case here, I'm going to be lazy and just choose all records. But if you want to go through filtered data set or something like that. Maybe you don't want to look at all data. Maybe you want to go through a Salesforce report-like interface there to select, record type equals partner. I want to go see only the information for my partner accounts that were created in the last couple of years, things like that. You can select whatever criteria you want, or if you want to write your own SOQL, you can. Again, I'm going to be lazy here and I'm going to move forward, and I'm doing this just for one object, right? You can do this for any and all objects if you so prefer. And what happens when I click next there is we start running statistics queries. So this is not like Field Trip where we go through every record in the system. That just takes way too long. We are running rapid statistics queries on Salesforce to give you guys some answers there. I don't want to make you wait here, so I'm going to escape out of it and get my results. So it's showing a bunch of fields as not having enough usage, some information there that has decent amount of usage, and some fields there that are used pretty well. How do I know that? The colors really tell me that. Red kind of telling you not enough usage there, yellow telling you medium usage there, and the green say yeah, decently used. This criteria might change on a org to org basis, right? So when you right click there are various ways of sorting this information, and you can also manage that usage. Or maybe you don't care about this color coding at all, you can turn that off. In this case, I'm going to do the manage usage and redo all of that stuff. So I can say my low usage is really 25%, and medium usage is between 25% and 50%. How would I want to set that up? Or in this case, I'm going to leave this as 0% is low usage. So if somebody is really not using a particular field, I want to know that. But medium usage there, I want to see anybody that's not focusing on 30% or more, right? So select whatever percentage makes sense for you. And that rejiggers the chart to show me fields that are not being used, fields that are medium used there, and other fields that are very well used. I can run this as a report, or I can even drill down right here. I clicked on the billing country code field, which happens to be a pick list field, and let's walk through this setup. I have a small org, so it shows me that I have 1,000 records in my org, 1,000 some records in my org, account records. But out of that 1,800 of them are left empty for this particular field, right? Then it does some math and tells you about 200 of them actually have user input data. Now that's great. That's really where Field Trip will stop and tell you, these fields are being used. These fields are not really being used there because they are left empty. We go one step beyond that. We show you out of that 200, 96 of them have defaulted values filled in. Right? So this is useful for you to know, because maybe you have a field there that you've set up a default and nobody's really using it. This kind of breaks it down for you and shows you very clearly that a good percentage of that is left defaulted. So maybe that's a candidate for optimization. Right? And of course, I keep saying percentages there. So we do offer those percentages to help you understand all of this. And as I clicked on it, it does some marketing analysis as well and shows me the values that are filled in, grouped up. So I can see empty values there when I resort it, 78%, my default value US, which is 9%. So add it up there, approximately 88% of my values for my billing country code field is potentially useless. And of course, the long tail. Again, the idea is you can go see whichever field you want using data to help identify whether they are being used or not, both from a data perspective as well as a drill down perspective to see the particular usage there. All of these things can be brought into a display report. Maybe you've selected multiple objects and such. It gives you that capability to run the same kind of report for all the objects that you have selected. And what that does is it gives you the capability to see all of those things. Let me get rid of my video here. And gives me the ability to smart deploy. So here is that extra step that we go towards. Give you the capability to optimize these fields, any and all fields that are in red, you have the ability to delete these fields. Of course, standard fields cannot be deleted and such. So it is smart enough to realize all of that stuff. So any of your custom fields, it will bring in to the deployment to delete these things, blow them away as part of the deployment. But the great part about that is it does have a backup. So just in case you have a problem, you have a backup that you can lean on, right? This gives you a great way of identifying what fields are being used or not, and what parts of the field there, maybe some filtration that you want to go through or whatever. Do all of that stuff and clear out those unnecessary fields. And again, all of these color coding can be changed to match your org's requirements.
And Sri, can we also show the right-click export to all the different formats for every report that you'll find in our centers?
Absolutely. Before I get out there, whatever you see there, you have the ability to export these things out to CSV, PDF, HTML, and Excel formats. And that's really what Tom was talking about there. Excel is a very popular format, so you can export out all of this information, including the coloration there. And then if you want to slice and dice that stuff outside of Technical Debt Center, that's perfectly okay as well. Right? So that's the Technical Debt Center focusing on the field usage, looking at it from a data perspective. I'm going to bring up some other reports there to help you see the same information from a metadata perspective as well. But before we go there, let's get out of this. Come back here, look at the other most requested feature there, the ability to look at this from a pick list values. What values of mine are being used or not? Same way as before, select the report, enter in your credentials. I'm going to use the exact same credentials as before, and it brings up same old list there, same old list of objects, and I can choose whatever criteria I want to focus on, only the set of data that I'm interested in. In this particular case there, I want to go look at opportunity, just for a change, right? And when I go look into that, it runs the same kind of queries there, statistics queries, to rapidly give me back some results. And it does some it brings back some interesting results, right? So let's focus on all the fields here. I'm going to focus on one particular field, everybody's favorite lead source. It shows all of the defined set of values. So in other words, in my metadata, because my org is really old, I have defined some direct values in here in the field itself, right? In some other cases there, I might have defined some global value set and brought that in. Doesn't matter. The tool will recognize whether the pick list values are directly entered in or whether it's coming in through a global value sets and bring in that set of values. But interestingly, in this particular case, because my org is pretty old, there are also values that it found in the data that are not in my defined set of values, meaning this was done before restrict pick list values was brought in, and somebody did a data upload that were not cleansed properly, whatever be the case. Those things are also identified for you. And for each of the values, how many times it's being used and broken up across my record types, right? So not only can I see which values are being used or not, I can see other values that are in my data, but not my metadata. So prompts those questions for you. What values are worth cleansing? What values are, it should be deleted completely, whatever be the case that you might have. And all of these, like before, you can do this for multiple objects there, get those reports. That is all exportable just like before to whatever formats that you prefer. There are other niceties here, all over the reports there to hide unnecessary rows there. I don't care about report type, so I want to focus on the data itself. However you want to slice and dice this, you have the facilities to do all of that. So we talked about field usage and pick list usage there to focus on what fields are being used or not, and the ability to go super focus on the pick list values themselves. Now actually going to switch gears a bit and go talk about forgotten assets. So kind of zoom out a bit and focus on other metadata. Right? Forgotten assets gives you that capability. Tom brought this up earlier there. What if you want to go focus on other metadata like email templates, groups, roles, queues, fields themselves? You have the ability to go focus on fields themselves to go figure out what fields don't have enough connection. So you can also look at this from a metadata perspective. But focusing other things there, as I said, email templates, groups, roles, queues, tabs, profiles, permission set, whatever. There is a custom algorithm that we go through to help you identify what's being used or not. In this particular case, I'm showing you an example of email templates. It goes through every email template that I have in my org and identifies what's not being used and what things are being used. And the algorithm in this particular case focuses on incoming references. So these email templates, it goes through and identifies that nobody is actually connecting with these email templates, whereas there are other email templates there that are used in workflows or approval processes or Apex classes, auto response. You get the picture, escalation rules, whatever. So these are being used, whereas the ones in red are not being used. And you can do this for anything, right? Whatever metadata type that you prefer, just select that. It'll run its algorithm there, get you those results. And you can select multiple of them, get just the report. Or like we did with the field usage there, use the smart deploy. Remember, I did mention that it has the smarts to go figure out what things cannot be deleted and then automatically suppress those things. So in this case, managed metadata there, managed email templates cannot be deleted. So it knows that and then automatically suppresses that. Your custom or standard email templates that can be blown away, it brings it in so that you can delete them and move forward. Right? Or like before, you just want to export it out, get that report, go have a chat with your team before you want to blow away different things manually. However you want to slice and dice this, whatever process you want to go for, we have something for you. Right? This is again for a whole bunch of different metadata types, including those fields that I talked about, looking at it from a metadata perspective to identify what things are not being used. Groups, roles, queues. You can see these, flows, global value sets or, permission sets, profiles, whatever be the case. We have something for you.
Yeah, Sridhar, I just wanted to add a little color there and say, that report, that forgotten assets, is really a major hub of the solution because we really attack all 220 metadata types from there. As you said, each one with a custom algorithm. So this is really the place where you can go and comprehensively find out where your technical debt is, not just looking at fields, but looking so far beyond that: groups, queues, roles, email templates, reports, flows, you name it. So when you really are trying to tackle technical debt in a comprehensive way, this is really a power console for that.
Great point, Tom. Great point. Yeah, absolutely. This gives you so much power in your hands there that the cleanup becomes so much easier for you. Now, we've talked about a few things there. We talked about fields. We talked about pickless usage there. We did talk about forgotten assets that looks through email templates, or that's the example I gave you, but you could do this for groups, roles, queues, whatever. One of the common questions I get that, can you do this for reports? Can you do this for dashboards? Because some of the other things there, those things are common things that people want to clean up, and it's not very easy to do. Yes, we do tackle them here. There is also another way of doing the same thing, which is in last activity date there, which goes through and attacks 3 metadata types: your dashboards, email templates, and reports. And like before, whatever you choose, this just comes at it from a slightly different perspective. It looks at it from a data perspective. It goes and sees actual usage. I'm going to again run this for email templates just to show you. It shows you when things were last used, right? When the last activity was. Using that, you have ways of deciding whether things are being used or not. So that way, if Tom says, yeah, I created this email template 5 years ago, but I've not used it, but I plan to, or I'm heavily using this, whatever be the case, you now have a report that can very clearly call out what's not being used or what's being used or what's being used sparingly, what is being used heavily there. You have that capability. And like before, the manage activity, much like you do with field usage, can help you decide how you color code it based on this activity. Right? And that can also help you blow things away appropriately. And again, you can do this for dashboards, email templates, and reports from a data perspective. Now, I know I've been talking a lot about these email templates and whatnot. I do want to quickly show you some of the impact analysis pieces there. How are these things being used, or rather, where are they being used? What are the different touch points for these things? And it can be done for anything, right? Could be done for a standard field or a flow. You want to see all the different touch points for a flow. Now, this flow calls this workflow email alert, which calls this particular email template, or this flow is called in another flow, which is called in a completely different setup. However be the setup, impact analysis there can slice and dice this for you. And this is across all 200 some metadata types that you have, and it's not restricted by just the dependency API there, which is what typically people like to go with. Right. One of the things that I immediately get asked when I go into this is, can this do it for standard fields? Absolutely. Just go choose the metadata type here. So I can go choose, say fields, and everybody's favorite opportunity stage. You could definitely look through the dependencies for that and move forward. We've been talking a lot about email templates. I'm actually going to show you this for email templates. Right? Choose whatever you want, and it can go show you the dependencies for that. So as I'm selecting this particular thing there, next part is selecting what I want to go investigate. Right? The tool is smart enough to go suggest some things for you. Right? But in this case, I'm going to be lazy. I'm going to select everything. In other words, I've selected that email template there. It could be a standard field, could be a flow, whatever. Look through every single thing in my org and then tell me those dependencies. And it draws it out for me as a graph. So it's very visual, helps me understand this very, very clearly what the touch points are. The way you read it is from left to right, right? So let's go through that. Email templates, the one that I selected, and the email templates are being used in these two workflow email alerts, right? So anything to the left is using the metadata to the right. And I can keep drilling down. You see these bubbles right here, and I can keep clicking them, and then that keeps bringing up new dependencies there. So this email template is used in these workflow email alerts. I asked it to go look for what are the dependencies there. It brings up a flow, and I can keep going up the hierarchy there to go figure out translations in this case that depend on the work flow here. Flow depends on the workflow. Workflow depends on this email template. On the flip side, on everything on the right shows the constituents. This email template refers to or constituted by this particular object, in this case, an opportunity. Directly refers to a couple of fields of the opportunity as well. Right? And I can keep drilling down just like before, see all the different parts of the opportunity. There's a global value set, standard value set, a whole bunch of custom fields that whatever be the case, you can draw it all for you. And the best part about all of this stuff is wherever you are, you can right click and trace a path back. right? Imagine you're looking at the case object. You start off with the case object there, and the case object is being referred to somewhere else, which gets referred to somewhere else, which gets referred to somewhere else. You're now 15 levels deep. You now need to know how it refers back to where you started off with. It draws a nice little graph for you to help you understand that dependency. Wherever you are, you can investigate it further yourself by looking through the relationship details, which pops open the XML where you can iterate through that and say, yeah, this is why it's doing that, right? Or go directly to that metadata using launch asset browser. So it actually tunnels you into your Salesforce org using the credentials that you have previously provided and shows you that metadata. So maybe you want to make a change there, or maybe you want to delete it, whatever be the case, right? Helps you understand that impact and get you there directly. You can then export all of the stuff out as a picture. So maybe you just want to, export that graph out as a JPEG or a Photoshop file, a PNG or a GIF or something like that. You have that facility right here, right? There you go. So exports that out. You also have the ability to go get all of that stuff as a Excel document, right? Display report charts any of the stuff out in a table, and that can be exported out like before, a CSV, PDF, HTML, or Excel, right? So in other words, a graphical way to see that impact, a tabular way of seeing that impact, and this can again be done for any metadata type. Put very simply, this is your, where is this being used for anything? Standard fields, flows, groups, roles, queues, email templates, classes, LWC, or whatever you might have. It has the ability to help you understand all of that, right? All of that built into Technical Debt Center. So we've gone through field usage report, picklist usage report. Then we went to forgotten assets to see this for any metadata type there to help you understand from a metadata perspective what's being used or not. Then we came back to last activity to see this for three metadata types: reports, dashboards, and email templates. Then we saw all of the connected parts there for your org using impact analysis. Now, I'm going to zoom out again and help you see this for users, your regular users. Let's talk about a couple of scenarios where the user connection cleanup comes into play. I have a user that is already been deactivated. We all have deactivated users in your org, because those users cannot be deleted. But just because you deactivate a user doesn't mean all of their connections go away. Maybe they are still assigned a managed package license, which means you're actively losing money. Or maybe they were the default workflow user. Or maybe they've been assigned to an approval process. Or maybe they are the running user to a dashboard, so those dashboards never refresh. Whatever be the case, trying to figure all that stuff out and clean that user out is a lot of fun, right? That's what you and I as admins are tasked with. Or a different scenario, I'm about to deactivate, say, Tom. Before I deactivate, he's our VP of sales. I want to go in and see all of his dependencies so I can clean that out before I go deactivate, right? Or just see, I have two different users there. I want to go see these guys, what groups they are part of, what queues they are part of, whatever be the case. User connection cleanup helps you figure all that stuff out, right? Like before, I'm just selecting the report, selecting the org that I want to log into, and boom, launch, and we are off to the races. What it does is it gives you the capability to select any user that you want using a whole bunch of different mechanisms. You can select them by name. You can select them by permission. This is like, I want to select these users by a particular profile or a role or a user permission, people that have modify all data, view all data, have, publish packaging, that kind of stuff. Or been assigned a permission set license, or I want to do this by a filter. Title equals VP of sales, living in Atlanta, whatever be the case, right? That's Tom, by the way. Or I want to write my own SOCO. It'll give you a list of users, and you can select any user, any set of users that you want. You can select thousands of users, no problems. In this case, I already have a few here. I'm going to move on with that. With that in place, I can look through various parts of the connections. It could be a managed package license, or it could be a queue member, group member, or metadata links. And these are things like dashboards or approval process, or they are workflow user, whatever be the case, right? So in this case, I'm going to be lazy again, check all, and you can see how we can help you ease through this stuff with the right click there and move on with that metadata cleanup. I can select a replacement user. So in this case, let's say I'm going to be the guy. Tom is going to be the guy who's going to be the replacement user. So I'm going to choose Tom, and I'm going to replace all connections for Bill here. What it will do is it will investigate all the things I have selected and replace all of Bill's connections with Tom's connections. Or maybe as part of doing that, I also want to bump Bill's profile setup to something that is really minimum access profile, right? I can do that as well. So I can easily come down. I have too many profiles here. There we go. Minimum access Salesforce. It gives me the capability to pick any user, select a replacement user, and all of this guy's connection can be deleted or transferred over. So maybe Tom is taking over for Bill, so I want him to take over all of the group memberships, queue memberships, transfer all of his permission set licenses, transfer over all his managed package licenses. Whatever be the case, I have the capability of doing that. Or say, no, anything that just needs to be cleaned up, just clean it up. I just want you to do this for nothing but user license part of it, right? Whatever you prefer, you have the capability to do. And as part of that, you could do a test run to make sure there are going to be no problems with this. In this case, it says, hey, you can't replace the org license without replacing the profile. So yeah. It looks through and then finds just a replacement for that profile part of it and says, yes, I can totally do this, no problems whatsoever. That's because I focused on a very minimal set. If I say, just do it for everything for Bill, it'll do exactly that. It'll look through all of the workflow connections, permission set assignment connections there, role connections, whatever be the case, and cleans it all up and says, yes, I can now do it. And if I'm ready to do it, I can make it happen right. Or just get a report of that. Now, the cool part about this tool is not only can you do this for metadata, you can also do this for data. Owner cleanup. I can also come in for Bill and say, do this for his open cases only. Take all of that stuff and then assign it to Tom. Right? So this tool gives you the capability to handle connections, both from a metadata perspective as well as a data perspective. And we got you well covered every which way that you need. Right. And of course, those reports to help you understand all of that stuff. Maybe you might have to have a conversation before you go through that. We got you covered there as well. And all of our reports, remember, are all exportable to Excel, CSV, PDF, HTML, whatever you prefer. Last but not the least, license management. Like before, I'm logging into the org. Shows you exactly what licenses are available and assigned to what user, right? a 5-column approach here, or a 5 list approach here, list of users, and you can select any user that you want. Shows you the org license, right? What kind of license is assigned to this guy, Salesforce license, platform, guest license, whatever. Any permission set licenses assigned, manage package licenses assigned, feature licenses assigned, right? What does this give you? I can go select anybody that I want and then assign a managed package license and then save that assignment. In other words, I'm going into Bill and assigning a few managed package licenses to Bill and saving that into the org. Or you could flip it around and say, show me everybody who has been assigned a managed package license, shows you that list, and I can assign more or unassign users and save that. So maybe you wanted to claim some licenses back to this managed package, you could do that as well. I can do this for anything, feature licenses. Maybe you assign Einstein licenses to a bunch of people, Einstein activity capture, or something else that is costing you some real money, FSL licenses, whatever. You have that capability to move things around as you want, right? Part and parcel of the stuff is, in addition to understanding all of these things, you also have the ability to get reports for any and all of these things. That includes costing as well. You can go assign expenses related to these guys and then get that documented as well. What are the features available? Who are the people who have been assigned these licenses there? And how many times has that particular license been used? It goes and figures all of that stuff out for anything. Maybe you want to go see this for managed packages. Maybe you want to go see who has been assigned what. If there is a permission problem there, it can go figure that part out as well. So, for example, I've been assigned a license, but I have not assigned the right permissions for that license. It calls those out. Right? Bill here has been given the permissions there to activate contracts, but hey, he has not been assigned the right license. So he cannot go do that. Right? And any and all of these things that you select are all exportable to Excel, CSV, HTML like before. So you have various facilities to help manage your org in a very, very, very easy manner using Technical Debt Center. Again, very quickly walking through it. You can clean up you can clean up fields, both from a metadata as well as data perspective, field usage taking care of the data, forgotten assets taking care of the metadata. You can clean up pick list values. You can clean up other metadata using last activity, which looks through data for those 3 metadata types, or for anything using forgotten assets, groups, roles, queues, profiles, permission sets, whatever. Impact analysis shows you all the different touch points, so you can decide how things are connected, so you can rapidly make some decisions as to how to deal with these things. User connection cleanup helps you see users and what their different touch points are before you go decide to deactivate these users, or you want to reclaim these things from deactivated users. License expense management, again, like the name suggests, helps you see who has been assigned what licenses, get a report of that, or manage those licenses actively. With that, let me hand it back to Tom.
Thank you, Sri.
Yes.
All right. So thank you, everybody.